Hello everybody and welcome to what's become a bit of a rarity, a Taff's word. Apologies for not putting as many out as I'd like to, but lately it's been a bit difficult to sum everything up. And after yesterday, Boxing Day at Exeter, stumping to, I think it's our 7th league defeat of the season, considering right from the beginning we'd only really lost the one away to Northampton, up until what I'm going to come to a little bit later on as the turning point. After that yesterday, I got a bit more of an idea on where I think things are going wrong. I've now decided to spend a bit of a chunk of the day dissecting our season in comparison with last season with stats, which tell a bit of a story, to be honest with you. So I'm just going to take you through that. So I've got two dates marked here. Considering the stats I've got for last season and for the full season. So we've got to give or take, the fact that we're at pretty much the halfway point up till now. Obviously we've got to use that as a bit of a basis, but October 12th is the first date, which is where we decided to utilise the opportunity to call off our game with Cheltenham away, which I wasn't a fan of personally, because I really did feel that we were on a good run. We had a good bit of momentum, and one of the points I made, and I think I may have made one of these either on one of my Taff Live or one of these Taff's Word, is I hope it doesn't allow us to lose our momentum. Unfortunately, it appears to have done that exactly. And I'm going to go through the story of why. So I got my big bit of paper here with a gazillion things written down. I'm going to illustrate all this on the screen as I go through it. So this season, on October the 12th, so for the 2009-2020 season, on October the 12th, this is what our standing in the league table looked like. We were sitting in 5th place, played 13. We'd won 6, drawn 5, lost 1, scored 12, conceded 6, sitting on 23 points. As you would have seen right there. Same date last season, we were sitting in 3rd. We'd played 12, we'd won 7, we'd drawn 3, we'd lost 2, we'd scored 18 and conceded 19. So we're on a -1 goal difference, but we had one better on the points. So the difference being the points, we were one better off. The goals, we'd conceded this season 13 less this season on that date. 13 less, but it was only one game difference. So we played 12, we'd played 13 at the point of this season on that date. We were 6 goals lesser off. We lost one more game at this point last season. We'd drawn 2 games less at this point last season, and we'd won one more. So 24 points or 23 points, 3rd, 5th. We were pretty much where we were last season, except for the fact that the goals had taken a bit of a dip. 6 goals, not the biggest thing in the world, but still a dip in goals. But the big thing there is that we were 13 goals better off on conceded. So we'd conceded 19 goals at that point last season. We'd only conceded 6 goals at that point last season. So what it looked as though is, even though we were pretty much there or thereabouts, we had corrected a big weakness from last season, which is obviously the defence. So we've got, obviously, considering the 2 influential players who we lost, Joe Day and Dan Butler, were a goalkeeper and a defender. Considering that, we did bring a lot of defenders in, of course, but considering that, you've got to look at that and think, well, we've replaced them very well. So I'm going to move on to the second date that I mentioned, which is the 27th of December, which is today. Last season, we were sitting in 11th, so we dropped from 3rd to 11th, so we've had a similar collapse last year. So we dropped from 3rd to 11th. We'd played 23 games, we'd won 10, drawn 5, lost 8, scored 35, conceded 41. So we were sitting on a -6 goal difference at that point, but we had 35 points. How we sit right now in comparison to that. So sitting in 14th, 3 places lower. 21 games played, so we hadn't played the same amount of games. So there's a 2-game difference now. Obviously, because of the 2 games we called off because of international. Cheltenham, the one I mentioned earlier, and Grimsby, of course. So as it stands now, we've won 7, drawn 7, lost 7. 7's across the board. 19 goals scored, 19 goals against. So 19 across the board on the goals, 28 points. So we're 7 points lesser off. But considering we've played 2 games less, on our current form, the most we could hope for is a point. So, based on current form, with those 2 goals, with those 2 games, we could be sitting on 29 points, which would be 6 points less, 2 wins less. As it actually is, factoring in the fact that there's a 2-game difference, we were 3 wins lesser off at this point. 2 draws better off, 7-5, and we lost 1 more game at this point last season. So at this point we'd lost 8. This season we've only lost 7. Like I said, we'd scored 19, which unfortunately puts us 16 goals worse off. But the big statistic I want people to take away from this is the fact that we have conceded 22 goals less at this point last season than the season before. Well, at this point this season than last season. So last season we'd conceded 41 goals by now. This season we've conceded 19 goals. So a 22 goal difference on last season. And for me, that there is the biggest statistic of all of them, considering the league table at this point this season to this point last season. For me, that's where we got to look at that. 16 goals, mind you, is an alarming statistic. We're less off by 16 goals. So, how do we go deeper into this? I'll tell you how. So, for the whole of last season, here's some statistics for you. At home, now we know our home record was very good last season. We'd won 56% of our League 2 games at home last season. We had a 41% win ratio home and away. On average, we scored 1.22 goals a game. On average, we conceded 1.24 goals a game. Our average shots per match was 14.08, and the average shots on target was 6.27. The average possession was 49%. Look into it at this point this season. In League 2, our average home record is 45%, so we're down 11%, so our home record is poorer. 33% all round, so we're 8% worse off all round. So basically, our home form has taken a knock in comparison to last season. Obviously, these are average statistics, so it's not so much that the amount of games that you played makes much of a difference. Average goals for is 0.9, and because we scored the same, it's exactly the same statistic for goals against. So on the swing on that, we've basically turned that round better on the goals against than the goals for. The goals for, we've lost 8 on 0.23, where it's 0.24 better off. Is that 0.25 better off on the goals against? So even though we're not scoring as many goals, we've certainly tightened our defence up dramatically by that. But these are the statistics that are going to matter now. Our average shots per match last season was over 14. Average shots per match this season in League 2 is 13. So we're not taking as many shots, and our average shots on target is 4.11. So we're only getting an average of just over 4 shots on target per game, when it was a bit more than that, but 6. So 6.27. So it's 2. Oh bloody hell! My maths are going to get tested today. 2.16. 2.16 shots on target worse off. So it goes to show there is a problem with our strikers, because their conversion rate is dropped by a third, near enough, or possibly more, just over a third. The average possession is the most alarming statistic here. Last season, our average possession was 49%. This season, now I never thought it was as bad as this. Our average possession this season is 23%, which is dreadful. 49% isn't the best, but obviously we made the most of being able to break teams down on the counter using a bit of pace on the attack. This season, we've not kept the ball. So how can we expect our goals to go in when we're not even got the ball? No wonder the shots per match is lower. No wonder the goals are lower. But the pleasing thing again, though, you can take from this is not much pleasing about having an average possession of 23%. But the pleasing thing you can take from it is the fact that even though we've got a lot less of the ball, we've still conceded 22 less goals at this point from last season. So there it goes. There's some pretty, eye-opening statistics there. I'm going to go into some goals and assists now. So last season, these are the total goals and assists from last season. Padraig Hammond scored 23 goals, all competitions. Jamil Matt scored 20. Semenyo scored 6. So basically we relied, for the goals last season, we relied on Hammond and Matt heavily, which is why Tristan Abrahams was brought to the football club, of course, and Dominic Polian, because we needed more firepower up front, because we can't just be relying on those two guys again this season, because if one of them takes an injury, there's a big gap to fill, of course. You look at that this season, Hammond have scored 9 goals so far. But if you consider this is more or less the halfway point, projection should say Hammond should finish on 18, which would be 5 less goals than last season. Jamil Matt is only on 3, which means that he's projected to finish on 6, which is 14 goals less than last season, which is particularly poor, of course. Obviously, Semenyo only scored 6, but Abrahams has chipped in with 8 goals. So Abrahams has brought in to be another person scoring goals. He's doing that. So that's pleasing. You can say that that's pleasing because he's on target to go for 16 goals, which would be great for a first season with us, especially considering he's still pretty young. If you look at the assists, though, Robbie Wilmot last season, all competitions, had 12. Padraig Hammond had 9. Dan Butler, surprisingly, only had 6. I thought it was more than that. Tyreek Baconson had 6. Jamil Matt had 5. And Matt Dolan had 5. So the assists, came, if you add them up, from strikers who were in there. So you've got 2 centre midfielders, 2 strikers and 2 wing-backs. Our assists from the wing-backs was 18. Our assists from strikers was 14. Our assists from central midfield was 11. Just goes to show the majority of our goals came from the wing-backs. The chances created, the goals were created, the majority of them from wing-backs. Now, I'm going to give you the assists for this season so far. Abrahams 4, Corey Whiteley 3, George Nurse 3, Hammond 2, and then we've got 7 players who've only got 1. So from the strikers, we've got 6, which is reasonable. Projected to be about 12 when it was 14 last year. Around about there or thereabouts, not quite as good as you'd want it to be. From fullbacks, 3. Considering, it's due to be, because obviously we got Nurse and we got Haynes. I think Haynes is one of the players on 1, so we're going to give it 4. But I know McNamara is definitely on 0 assists. So, on wing-backs, we haven't seen enough of Wilmot, and he's been played as a central midfielder this season for some reason. So we've got to look at 4 being 8 projected for the season against 18. So 10 less assists from the fullbacks when that was the subject of our success from last season. And then from central midfield, well, Whiteley, I guess you could say, on 3. There's not really many other players who've made an assist. So I'd say some of those 7 players would be centre midfielders, of course, like Labardi, Sheehan, I'm sure were ones with 1. you're looking at around about the same sort of mark. So the big thing is the delivery from the left and the right, the utilisation of the width is accrediting to an awful lot of our downturning goals. And considering balls from out wide usually go in the air, who's our aerial threat? Jamil Matt, and he is projected to score, was it 14 less goals than last season? That pretty much pinpoints it. And just to confirm it for you, Nurse and Haynes together have both got a goal each and an assist each from left wing back. Butler last season scored 4 goals and 6 assists. Haynes and Nurse together, a goal each and an assist each, means they're on form. They're on course to get 2 goals each, which would equal Butler's 4, but Butler did that himself. So 1 assist each. Then, you know, they're still going to finish less than Butler. But here's the one from the right hand side: McNamara, 0 goals, 0 assists. Wilmot, 3 goals, 12 assists. It says it all, really, doesn't it? A lot of our success came from wing backs last season, and we're failing that this season. I'm hoping that these statistics paint the picture of the season in comparison to last year. Now, no, we can't really be comparing on last year, but we made it into the playoffs last year. This season, we were hoping we were going to go one better, and from the beginning of the start of the season that we had, we thought that was going to be the case. The area we said we needed to correct was our defence. We've done that. We've done that in abundance, as you can tell. We're 22 goals better off on our conceded, but we're 16 goals down on what we've scored so far. I suppose in a way you can say there's another 2 games to play. We could have scored a couple more goals then, but you know, we're clutching at straws there, really, aren't we? If you're looking for factual reasons behind the downturn in form, that there pretty much paints a picture for you. For me, our main issue is our formation and utilisation of our width. I've noticed one big thing this season, that we aren't getting down the byline like we used to. It's just in plain black and white there for you. I'd love to know what you think about that, guys, so please feel free, drop me a comment, tell me if you think I'm wrong. It's going to take an awful lot to convince me that I'm wrong about this, because the stats are there. We're not utilising the width, and that's the reason why we are not doing as well. Well, that's the reason for our collapse. We had a similar collapse last season, but we ended up finishing in the playoffs. This is where we're failing. So it's the width. If we are going to turn this around, we need to utilise the wide parts of the field more and improve the delivery into the box. Looking forward to seeing what you guys think about that. Thanks all for watching. Cheerio for now, and as always, up the county. Here's for a better 2020. Many thanks for watching the latest content on the Amber Army channel. Please make sure you leave us a like. Make sure you subscribe for more content, both for the neutral football fan and also plenty of Newport County. Even more Newport County content can be found on the club's iFollow channel on the link above. It is just £4.49 per month to subscribe to that service. And those of you feeling extra generous can also support us on Patreon on the link at the bottom there. That would be a monthly donation of your choice. Thank you again. Make sure you've subscribed, and as always, up the county.